The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. Before we get started, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share button, that notification bell, all of that. All of that helps the reach and the growth of the channel. And for everything you all do, thank you very much. Now, we're doing a very special live today, which is a Friday, which I normally don't ever go live on Fridays. We're doing it today because an unfortunate event happened, which prevented me from being able to make my live Thursday. For those who've watched me for a while, I normally go live Monday nights and Thursdays. Okay, Thursday nights, right? I wasn't able to go live either one of those nights, to be very honest with you. I did have and people loved it, the podcast episode, excuse me, with our good brothers, Tori and Rain and Black Alpha. I was able to release that Monday to supplement me not being able to go live. So that was okay. Everybody loved that one, so shout out to those brothers. Shout out to the people who watched it, the people who loved it. Thursday, I had full intention on going live Thursday, but just something. Life throws you unexpected events. Sometimes it does. So we're here now because I wanted to make sure that we still stayed on schedule to the best of our ability. We have 40 people in the room already. And life be life, and that's what happened. Happy Friday to everybody. So this was the best time I saw fit to do it today. So I definitely wanted to get this out today. So just to let you guys know, this isn't going to be a schedule change or anything like that. Don't expect a normal routine of me going live Fridays. Don't expect that to be the case. So this is just because of what happened Thursday. And next week, we're going to be going on with the same schedule that we've been going on with. So, just letting you know, being transparent and letting you know. All right. Shout out to everybody in here. Now, about the last few years or so, really ever since kind of like late 2018, to be very honest with you, about late 2018, and then it started to really pick up 2019, and it really just started blowing up since then. We, as the term I prefer to use, foundational Black Americans, we as Black Americans have been making or have been recognizing and identifying and respecting the legacy of our ethnicity, okay, of our nationality here on American soil, all right? Prior to that, years ago, we have had a sense of Pan-Africanism to a degree, maybe, where we wanted to connect with the motherland of Africa. Now, I want to preference this by saying that this live is not necessarily to disrespect Africa, is not to undermine Africa, it's not to make us seem better than Africa or anything. It's not to be taken to that offense. Although some people, just based off of what I am going to say, some people will just naturally be offended. But the truth offends people sometimes, so there's really no way around that. So we've been, as Black Americans, we've been coming into a cultural sense of identity and identifying not anywhere outside of the continent, the continent of America, but more so in America. And we've been enriching ourselves with our own unique history from our own unique lineage and legacy in this country as descendants of slaves, and even prior to being enslaved, even prior to the transatlantic slave trade. So that's been a thing that's been growing. It's not only growing among us as FBAs and the people who identify with FBA, but also among the common folk in America. It's becoming a thing that's starting to spread out in the ethos of common talk, of celebrities even, which leads us to a video from Cameron. Cameron he has a YouTube platform, and in his YouTube platform, he was talking about him identifying with being black, which is a race, over being African. Now, some people say, well, African is a race too. African's not really a race. Let's not do that. Let's just be intellectually honest. African is not a race. Africa is a continent. So when people say I'm African, it's a continent. Most people in the world, let's just be honest, most people in the world do not identify with a continent. Most people identify with a country. Okay? We tend to get that confused when it comes to Africa. Africa is a continent, it's a continent, it's not a country. There's 52 countries in Africa. All right, there's multiple different countries with different tribes in Africa. So let's be very honest with that. When we say we're American, that is because America is a country. You don't hear us saying we're North American. You never heard anybody say, "Hey, I'm a North American." People don't say that. They'll say they're American. They don't say they're North American, because that would be weird. Because North America is a continent. It's not a country. North America includes Canada, includes, I think, Alaska as well too. And people don't say that. People say, "Well, no, I'm American." You know what I'm saying? So people identify with a country. So that's what he was saying. Well, since we are American, and I'm going to play the clip, we are American. Our nationality is American. You can only be born in one place. We were born on this land. We are citizens of this land. That is our nationality. Our nationality our place of nation does not change. We can't be born in a different place. If you're born in America, you are an American. You can be born in America and then move to someplace else. You were still born in America. So you are American. Whether you would like to be American or not, whether you have problems with America, and there are problems with America, you are still American. That don't change. Okay? You're still American nationality wise, I guess, right? So without any further ado, we're going to play the clip, and then we're going to talk about it, because he had some pushback because of that. So let's play this clip. But before we do that, let's make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
All right, so this is the clip right here. It's not long, but this is the clip right here.
We don't even got to go into the license. When you go fill out a test when you're in school and they ask you this, that, and third, this, that, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. And I know we got to get back to our topics. We already a few minutes in. I'd rather feel in black than African American, because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Well, you're American, Mace. You're born in America. When you go to the Olympics, and when I say African American, you go over there, they call us Yankees and all that. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a black American. When we go to the Olympics as a country, and somebody black is fighting from the
Now,
United.
Let me just pause that real quick. When Mace asked him, he was like, he says the Africans don't mess with us, and then he says, "Oh wow, so you mean to tell me the Americans do?" And he was like, "Well, I mean, you are American. You're American. So when you say the Americans do, you're saying it as if Americans are some other group of people. All right, we have to understand, because too often we've been taught that us, as whatever y'all like to call them, freedmen, whatever, but us as foundational Black Americans, we've been taught that we're like some type of lost tribe of Africans somewhere. We're some unclaimed, flagless, countryless tribe of Africans that were stolen from the continent of Africa. So we're not really American, and we're not really African. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we've been taught. But the thing is that that's not really the case. And the more we do research on that, and the more we find out about even our indigenous history in this land, and just really our history here, even as descendants of slaves, you know what I'm saying, in the history that we've had to cultivate here, that with origins that we had to come up with here, you know what I'm saying, traditions that we've had to come up with here, we should be empowered and proud of that, of starting to a new place. Now, a lot of different people have traveled to different lands and started something new. Now, us being in America and being enslaved, that was, not of our doing, but we had to start something new. Nevertheless, we still had to start something new. When other people go to different places in the world, right, and they start a new culture, a new tradition, a new language or something like that. When they do that, they start something new. They don't identify with what they used to be before or their traditions before. They identified with the new thing. This is the new land. We have renamed ourselves. We are practicing a different practice than what our forefathers used to practice. This is new, and everybody then respects the new thing. Now, our circumstances as descendants of slaves is different from everybody else's circumstance. Now that we can agree on, but the principle of us starting something new, the principle of our lineage starting a new thing, is still the same, and it's been that way throughout the world, So we have to have the same level of respect for our ethnicity as everybody else does. And I'm saying this to say, the like lost African people that nobody really knows where they came from, you can't be respected as an American, but you're so disconnected from Africa, you can't really be respected as an African. So you're just caught in this awkward little middle place, and you're just kind of nowhere. That's just not true. That's just not true, because that's not how the world works. All right, but let's continue. Let's continue what we have to say. I mean, what he was talking about.
United States. You don't say African American. You say American. You don't even put a color on it. It's an American fighter fighting a European fighter, or China or Japanese or anything. You're known in the Olympics as an American. It doesn't matter what color you are. You're an American fighting against somebody from Cameroon or Senegal, whatever. The point being is they don't categorize it when it's world competition, but when it's other shit, it needs to be categorized. So I consider myself a black American. I don't consider myself African American. And shout out to all my niggas in Africa. Much love.
Now, what he was saying, what he's saying is this is nationality. When you go to what he's describing is nationality. When, for instance, the Olympics, they don't have the Black American Olympics, the Asian American Olympics, the White American Olympics versus the British, the white British, the black British. They don't do that. They don't do that. It's just based off of your nation. Which there are different nations that are competing. Since you are a part of the American nation, whether you like to be or not, then you will just automatically be a part of, if you're boxing for America, you're just an American because you are at that point representing that nation. That's what he's talking about. All right.
Love. But y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all don't. That's that.
He says, and they don't consider us real Africans. Okay. So yeah, that was that. Let me get to the. It says, I be cringing every time I hear people in African American. Yeah. Your super chat, thank you for the super chat. If we can stay on topic, no disrespect, but that's gonna get us way off topic. So let's please stay on topic, please. Because that's not that's gonna get us off topic. I respect the super chat though, Anyway, that's what it is. Now, even if we say, we came here from Africa, and I'm personally not trying to deny us our African origins. Okay. When I say African origins, I do mean for the fact that clearly our DNA is tied to DNA of people who are from the continent of Africa. Okay. That's very clear. Most of the people in the world, to be very, very clear with you, most of the people in the world, they're people who they have ties to Africa to some degree or another. You know what I'm saying? You can go almost anywhere in the world and you can take the DNA from somebody from India and you can find African DNA in that Indian person. You can go to Asia and you can find African DNA in that Asian person. There are places in Africa that have skin darker than mine, dark-skinned people with afros and everything like that, bit wide noses and all that stuff. But they're Asian. They are Asian people. You know what I'm saying? So you can find African DNA, and of course I'm not gonna sit here and deny that we have African DNA. We do. You know what I'm saying? I'm also not going to deny that there were ships bought here that transported enslaved African people in the Middle Passage to the lands that are known as American, to what they call the New World. I'm not denying that either. Now, we also have to admit, and I've made several videos about this, we also have to admit that prior to the Europeans, Christopher Columbus and all, prior to them coming here, there were people that if they were alive today, you would consider them Negroes. They were black people. All of the European explorers said that, hey, these people are black. These are some black people. There is evidence that the Native Americans, the Aboriginals in this land of America, in the Americas, were going back and forth and trading with with people from West Africa. That's already been well documented. Okay, it's been documented that there was existences of the same languages. That's why the Moors knew how to translate when the Europeans first started coming over here, colonizing and stuff like that. Some of the same hieroglyphs that you would see in Africa, you would also see in America, and the same architecture. That's why some of the same temples, there were different temples and tombs and stuff like that in the Americas that looked the same in Africa. So that's been going on years before the Europeans got here. So there are the word just slipped my mind. I cannot believe there are aboriginal origins in the Americas prior years prior to Christopher Columbus and all that. There's been DNA evidence of bones that were found, which they can trace how old the bone is. There's been bones that were found in Americans in the Americas that when they did the DNA, they said, okay, these are Negroes. Okay, these are Negro bones, and this bone dates back prior to when Christopher Columbus sailed here. So you would have to say you would have to literally have confirmation bias. And when people say that we don't have any Aboriginal ties at all whatsoever, none whatsoever, those are people who have what is called confirmation bias. Those are people who don't want us to have any ties, because let's be very honest. The people who say, yeah, we're all from Africa, they don't mind saying that we have European DNA. But when they say things like we have Aboriginal DNA, it's, oh my God, you hate Africa. You hate Africa. No. There's too much evidence. And like Cameron was saying, this has nothing to do with hating Africa. I personally don't hate Africa. I don't hate anybody who is African. You know what I'm saying? There are certain behaviors in Africa that need to cease, but that's another story. But I don't hate the continent or any country in the continent. Anybody who's from the continent, just because you're from the continent. Okay? Let's just be very honest. Let's be very honest with that. All right? But there was some pushback that was given. So you have none other than, I'm going to pull it up right here. You have none other than Mark Lamont Hill had something to say to push back against it. So we read the copyright thing. We're going to go through it.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Mark Lamont Hill. A couple of days ago, Cameron made news. He had the internet buzzing. Not because of sports, which is what he's been talking about lately, and not because of rap, he's a rap legend, but because he made a comment about not wanting to be identified as African American. Here's what he said.
When you go fill out a test when you're in school and they ask you this, that, and third, this, that, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather fill in black than African American, because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Well, you're American, Mace. You're born in America. When you go to the Olympics, and when I say African American, you go over there, they call us Yankees and all that. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a black American. When we go to the Olympics as a country, and somebody black is fighting from the United States, you don't say African American. You say American. You don't even put a color on it. It's an American fighter fighting a European fighter, or China or Japanese or anything. You're known in the Olympics as an American. It doesn't matter what color you are. You're an American fighting against somebody from Cameroon or Senegal, whatever. The point being is they don't categorize it when it's world competition, but when it's other shit, it needs to be categorized. So I consider myself a Black American. I don't consider myself African American. And shout out to all my niggas in Africa. Much love. But y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all don't.
Now, normally I mind my own business on this kind of stuff, sort of. But I felt the need to respond directly to Cam because I think this issue is that important. So Cam, my brother, here is my response to you. First of all, as you know, and I said this to you publicly and privately, I appreciate you. I love you. I love the work you're doing. You're one of my favorite rappers. And now to watch you and Mace on that show doing the work you're doing is incredibly important. It's empowering and it is uplifting. But with that platform, of course, comes a big responsibility because people look to you for insight. They look to you for advice. They shape their worldview based on what you say. So when you made that statement, it's going to have other people echoing it. And I want to make sure that we break down what's right about what you said and what's wrong about what you said. For me, saying you Black is cool. I often say I'm Black as opposed to African American because I don't want to exclude my brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, my brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa. In the United States, when you say you Black, it encompasses all of that because the police don't care if you came in on a boat last year or 400 years ago. When you don't get the job or you don't get the house or you don't get the credit or you don't get whatever it is because of your race, people don't care whether you are African from the continent, whether you're African from the Caribbean, whether you're African from the United States. So for me, Black in that way is a good framework to include all of us. I'm with that part of it. But we can't let go of Africa, my brother. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the idea that Africans don't fuck with us is, I think, not true. It's exaggerated and inflated. Africa is a continent and every country is different. Every region is different. The idea of even calling Africa a single place is something that really Europeans did. It happens in a way that.
Okay, so I let it play for a little bit. Now let's kind of down that bit. Let's get into it. The whole Africans, they don't mess with us. Africans don't mess with us. Oh, and he's correct. And I stated this earlier. Africa is a continent, is not a country. So where he's correct is by saying the whole, okay, you want to cherry pick certain aspects of certain people from certain countries, and you want to paint the whole country. Did I say 52? I meant 54. You want to paint the whole continent, my bad. You want to paint the whole continent in a broad brush. You shouldn't do that. Now, here's the thing, though. For him to say Africans don't mess with us, is that as inaccurate as Mark is trying to make it seem? I don't really think so. Because it would be one thing if you can pick like a few countries, like let's say Ghana, Ethiopia, just name Ghana, Ethiopia, Nigeria, just randomly three countries, and they kind of have a little bit of disdain towards Black Americans, but nowhere else in the continent do they have that. But the thing is that you're finding the slight little disdain for Black Americans. You find that to be the norm in most of the places you can really think of. If we're going to be very honest with you, and I'm not saying everybody from those countries are like this. This is why we have to have this mature conversation. Everybody from those countries aren't like that, of course. Even if the country is like that, that doesn't mean that everybody is like that in those countries. But if it's a scale, it leans towards a little bit of anti-Blackness in majority of those places. More often than not, you have a lot of anti-Blackness vitriol, even though they love our culture, they love our customs, they love our traditions and everything like that. And there might be love that they have. There's still a sense of, and when you say they don't F with us, when he said that, even if it's not a disdain, even if it's not a Black Americans, even if it's not that, there is a sense of we're black, but these are foreigners. There's a sense that these are foreigners. Being very honest, most of them, if we're going to tell the truth, we should start telling the truth. Most of them do not see us in the same way, even if they acknowledge, hey, we all black, I'm black, you black, we right here, we're brothers and sisters here. They still look at us. We're still foreigners, and we are still foreigners to a solid majority of all of these countries on this continent. But let's continue to what he listening to what he has to say.
Ignores the fact that there's different tribes and different cultures and different civilizations, sometimes that aren't even connected by a country. So it's complicated. So I would never say all of Africa does this or all of Africa does that. But in general, what I would say is there's a long history of Africans on the continent connecting with Black folk here in the United States. When we were marching for civil rights, there were people in Accra, Ghana singing "We Shall Overcome." They were hearing our songs, they were hearing our music, they were hearing and witnessing our struggle. And as they fought for independence in countries like Ghana, they watched what we did and they felt a connection. In Sierra Leone, they feel a connection. In Ivory Coast, they feel a connection. In Cote d'Ivoire, they feel a connection. In South Africa, they feel a connection. When we were marching,
now listen to this,
to end apartheid and to get Nelson Mandela out of prison, they certainly banged with Black Americans who were struggling with and for them. Are there some folk who don't? Are there some who ain't even Black?
Well, okay. The connection. Oh, I mean, okay. Let's say this. Yeah, of course there's going to be a connection. We are sitting up there leading the charge, and they are kind of following behind our lead in a lot of these cases. They're singing "We Shall Overcome." Notice we're not singing their songs. They're singing our songs. We're leading the charge. And then when they have their uprisings, they mimic what we do. So of course there is a connection. That don't mean we the same people because there's a connection. If what that is what you call a connection, we have a connection with everybody in the world because everybody in the world does what we do. There's a connection with everybody in the world. And nobody is saying that there is a problem having a connection. People can be connected and they not be the same people. You having a connection with another group of people across the world don't make you the same people. We're not the same, even if we have this quote unquote connection. What he said about Nelson Mandela and all of that stuff, yeah, they hang. Hold on, let me play back what he just said because I can't even repeat it. Let me play it back.
They feel a connection. In Cote d'Ivoire, they feel a connection. In South Africa, they feel a connection.
Yeah, and then feel a connection. They feel a connection. They feel a connection. Yes, of course they feel a connection. That's because really we are the ones making sure they feel this connection. When they're oppressed, we're sitting up there. When you bring up apartheid South Africa, we were the ones sitting up there trying to fight and really get the needle pushed as far as that is concerned. So yes, there is a connection. That's because of the work that we're doing here in America. But then listen to what he has to say.
When we were marching to end apartheid and to get Nelson Mandela out of prison, they certainly banged with Black Americans who were struggling with and for them.
He said they hanged with Black Americans who were struggling with and for them. What is that? First off, what does that mean? What does that mean? And if we're going to be very honest with you, and no disrespect to, the South African apartheid and everything like that, we were the ones kind of leading the charge on a lot of that stuff. We were the one, like he just admitted, we were the one who spearheaded, really, to be very honest, foundational Black Americans. We are the ones who set the precedent of resistance globally. Okay? We set the precedent of resistance globally. This is why you see all forms of resistance, and anywhere you see in the world where there's like some tyranny or anything like that, they look at us, they look for us to help, they mimic what we have done. All of that because of the precedent and the foundation that we have set as far as fighting against oppression and subjugation. Okay, we've set that precedent. So of course there's gonna be a connection. Anywhere in the world you can look and see in a press group of people, and they mimic us. Yes, there is a connection, because we have a connection when it comes to anywhere there is oppression and resistance against that oppression. There's a connection, because we've set the tone for that. We've set the precedent for that. We've planted the seeds for that. So yes, there is a connection there. That don't make us the same people though. But let's let them continue.
There's some folk who don't. Are there some who ain't even black? Look at North Africa, a whole bunch of Arabs. Are there people who come here and think they better than the average nigga on the street? Absolutely. And some of them got to get a nigga wake-up call when the police stop them and don't care what country they came from or how non-African American they are. So we understand all of that. But at the end of the day, we are a united people. And the extent to which we are disconnected is the extent to which white supremacy has wedged us apart. So the goal for us now is to bring everybody back together. And why?
Now, here's the thing. If that's the goal, where is that goal really being seeked? Where is that goal in Africa? Who and shout out to the folks who have done that. Because this live is not to badmouth Africa. Let's be honest. But we are telling the truth. The truth is that is not the content, that's not the goal. Hold on. That's not the MO of the continent of Africa. It's not. So if you want to say we need to band together and to band together, notice, okay, we've been reaching out and reaching out and reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. When are we going to first off receive a hand? We're reaching out and receiving slaps on the wrist, and we're not receiving a hand back. Okay. But the thing is that when is Africa truly, because he's gonna bring up right to abode and we're gonna talk about that, but when is Africa truly going to be all like, hey, we need to sever this connection? I mean, not sever, sorry. We need to strengthen this connection. When from the continent is that going to be the MO of the continent, or of really any country in the continent? And this, like I said, we're just gonna have to tell the truth. So of course, every time we say that, we bring up the right to abode, and we're going to get into that. And I'm not saying that every single person from Africa who is African is on that page. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to paint them all with a broad brush, every person, because there's some solid brothers and sisters in the continent, okay, who've tried to do that and who were assassinated. And I'm not trying to discredit them or disparage their legacy or anything like that, but we can name a handful of them, and that's a big, very, very, very big continent, of a very big continent with a lot of countries in it, okay? And we can only name a handful of people who've been on this let's all come together page. We're gonna have to be honest. That's just not the page the country as a collective is on. There's a lot of different tribalisms where tribes don't like to do business with other tribes. You got a daughter, you don't want your daughter marrying somebody from a different tribe. Not only, I get you might have a preference, but you literally look at the other tribe as a different group of people, and you don't want your family marrying into that other tribe or that other country. Us as Black Americans, we don't have that. It's not like, oh, if we from Chicago, we don't want you marrying somebody from Alabama. That don't make sense. Like we don't think that way, you know. And it's a lot, dare I say, majority of the continent operates that way. That is just the operating procedure of the continent. And until we get honest with that, it's never going to change. That is the way it's operating. Okay? So if we want to change it, let's start telling the truth about it. All right? So, but let's continue.
We gotta recognize that our history and our roots are African. We are African people. When you go through New York City and you meet somebody who's Italian or Irish or German or Indian, we don't say Irish American. We don't say, yo, my homie was dating this Irish American girl, or yo, my homie was tiptoeing out with this Italian American chick. Nah, right? We don't say, yo, the Indian American guy up the street gave me a hard time in the cab. We call them where they're from because that's their culture. That's their origin. That's their story. So when we disconnect ourselves from Africa by not calling ourselves African American, we advance the story. We echo the lie that our history began when slavery began, that we're not connected. Those babies up in Harlem or Brooklyn or Queens, or even better, Philly, those beautiful, brilliant Black babies aren't connected to a tradition of people who could tell weather patterns.
Now, before we get into that, notice that is only told to Black Americans. Only Black Americans, like, hold on, if you don't claim Africa, really, then what you're saying is that your origin starts from slavery. That's what it starts from. Now, of course, we're more knowledgeable about our indigenous origins, but let's not even go all the way into that. Look at Jamaicans, okay? Look at Costa Ricans, look at Haitians, all of these people. You don't hear them refer to themselves as I'm an African Jamaican, I'm an African Haitian, I'm an African Puerto Rican. They don't say that. But when you say, oh, who are you, or where are your people from? Oh, I'm a Haitian. Oh, do you mean that if you don't say you're African Haitian, you're saying that your Haitian identity is born from captivity, and you're born from you're you're born from not born, but your people originated, or you have no history outside of captivity. They don't say that. They don't say that. Okay. When you ask a Haitian where they're from, when you tell people that they are Haitian, when people say they're Haitian, they mean they're Haitian. They don't, I'm African Haitian. You don't hear that. You don't hear that. I'm African Jamaican. You don't hear that. They're Jamaican. And nobody shames them by saying, if you don't identify with Africa, then what you're saying is that your people originated from, excuse me, captivity. Because that's not true. That's not true, right? That's not true. Then he goes on to the weather pattern. Okay, let's listen to this.
Predict weather patterns long before there were weathermen who could outline the stars and the constellations. Long before there were Western astronomers, people who had philosophy and faith and discipline and civilization, long before white people ever stood up. We got all that, bruh. And we had that from Africa. So when we cut ourselves off from Africa, we cut our own babies off and ourselves off from the genius and the brilliance of our tradition. Hip hop, as much as it's born.
Now, before you say something about hip hop, let's say this. When we cut ourselves off from Africa, we shouldn't cut ourselves off from Africa. When we cut ourselves off from Africa, let's be honest, us identifying with our own ethnicity, whether we like it or not, You are either a Black American, you are either a foundational Black American, or you are not, whether you like to use the term FBA or not. Your ethnicity, it does not change based off of what you like. Okay? So us saying that, okay, we got ties to Africa, nobody's denying that, nobody's hating on that, but we still have a different ethnicity. These people, when they make these arguments, these people make it seem like ethnicity does not exist. For us to acknowledge our ethnicity, which is why I titled it this, I couldn't title it super long, but for us to acknowledge our ethnicity shouldn't disconnect us from Africa. Why do you think that necessarily disconnects us from Africa? You don't make that argument with anybody else that it disconnects us from Africa, because let's be very honest with you. There are different ethnicities, there's different nations in Africa. There are different nations in Africa. Okay? Nigerian is not going to identify as a South African. Is not going to do that. They're from the same landmass, and they're not going to do that. They will not do it. Okay? So that's it. Are they disconnected in some way because they both don't see Africa? No. They look at their nationality, their ethnicity, and there's nothing wrong with that. Us here, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Everywhere in the world that happens, nothing wrong with that. Okay? There's different nations in Asia. There's North Korea, and right under that is South Korea. They are two very different people. Okay, based off of the little research I've done. Different customs, different traditions, different stuff, right? Different entertainment, all that. They own the same landmass. Okay? They can acknowledge the differences in them. It's only when it comes to us, for us to say, if we even acknowledge that we have a ethnicity, if we don't act like we're some type of lost people just floating around in space and unclaimed children of Africa, that we're somehow disconnecting ourselves. Excuse me. It's ridiculous.
In the Bronx, hip hop is rooted in Africa. And I hear you when you say Africans don't see us as real Africans, but brother,
He said hip hop is rooted in Africa. It's not. Hip hop is not rooted in Africa. How? How is hip hop rooted in Africa? Notice he says that one time and then just goes. He just goes with it. Says it one time, never brings it up again. Never. By the logic, I assume he's thinking of hip hop is rooted in Africa because we are rooted in Africa. Well, if that's the case, then jazz is rooted in Africa, house music is rooted in Africa, disco, R&B, country music. You mean to tell me country music is rooted in Africa? By that logic of, since we are rooted in Africa, therefore everything that we've done is rooted in Africa, then exactly, blues, neos, all rock and roll is rooted in Africa. Like And then he says in the very beginning that Africa is a continent. It's not even a country. So where in the continent, where in the continent, what country, if Africa, let's be honest, if hip hop is rooted in Africa, tell me what country or countries of the 54, which ones have the roots of hip hop in them? Because you can't just say you can't just bam say the continent. You can't just say the whole continent, this big ass continent. You can't just say that. You have to at least be able to zone in on at least a few of the countries in there. So which of the countries do hip hop originate from? Have its roots in? Notice he brings that up and then just flies by that, never brings it up again.
I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. Pause. There is a large chunk of the African continent, and again, it's a continent with lots of different countries, cultures, and values and politics that see us as brothers and sisters and long distant relatives who they want to come home. Think about the March of Return. In 2019, Ghana invited the globe.
Now, he said the March of Return. I think he was mistaken, because the March of Return ain't got nothing to do with Africa at all. That's not got nothing to do with even black people. That's got some stuff to do with another group of people that we will not talk about on this live stream. But so I think he was mistaken with that. But then he brings up what I think he really meant, because he brought up Ghana. I think he really means the right to abode. So let's listen to that.
Global community to come back, to return to home, which is Africa, and specifically Ghana. And so many black people, African people, went to Ghana. They saw the culture, they saw the connection, they felt the love from the African people. And for that reason, many people are building alliances. Our dear brother Boris Kojo is doing that right now, trying to build political, cultural, and economic infrastructure in Africa for us, black folk in America. The brother Akon is trying to do the same thing. Have some critiques of what he's doing, but the idea is solid. And when you talk to African people,
okay, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause and we're gonna look at the right to abode, because this is very important, right? They always bring it up when we say, nah, they don't really like us like that. We're not really welcome like that. They say, no, you are, you just don't see it. That we have the right to abode, which is only one country. Now, mind you, Africa has 54 countries. When we say we're not really welcome in Africa like brothers and sisters, excuse me, when we say that, we mean collectively the continent. But they say, no, you're wrong. There's one country, one of the 54. So we ain't really gonna talk about the 53, but the one. They say you can come back. See? Okay, all right. So let's look at some of the things, and we're gonna look at the right to abode. Okay. So let's look at some of the characteristics, and make it bigger. Okay. So these are some of the rules and all that stuff, right? No, so it says, who is a person of African descent in the diaspora? These are the people who have the right to abode. A person of African descent is clearly defined. It is defined as a person who immediate forebears have resided outside of African continent for at least 3 generations, but those origins, either by documentary proof or by ethnic characteristics, is African. Okay, so we're gonna be going on and on and on and on. Now, scrolling down, because this is where they get you. Okay, what are the benefits? Okay, the benefits: you get the right to live in Ghana, right to enter Ghana without a visa, right to work, employment. It says the holder is suspect to, the gun laws. Okay, the process, all that stuff, the process of getting involved, the process of applying. So when you scroll down and get to the requirements, let's look at the requirements, okay? Because they welcoming us back with open arms, don't you see? We're just missing it. So we're going to look at the requirements. They say there are eligibility requirements for ROA, right to abode. The applicant must be at least 18 years old and must satisfy all ALL of the following. Okay, it says they must show they are of good character. Well, that makes sense. Of course, you wouldn't want bad people over there. Good character. It says this must be proven by character reference from 2 Ghanaians who are notorious public, which means kind of like lawyers. So you need 2 Ghanaian references, okay, who are, notaries, public, lawyers, senior public officers, or other classes of persons approved by the minister. The average Black American person, maybe I can speak for myself, but I don't know 2 Ghanaian lawyers who can vouch for, like, the average person knows 2 Ghanaian lawyers who can vouch for them. Like, how are you? Okay, all right. That might be a little bit difficult of a requirement, but let's look at the next one. It says they must satisfy criminal check records by showing that they have not been convicted of any criminal offense to imprisonment for a term of 12 months or more. That's kind of reasonable. That's reasonable, right? All right. Then it says they must provide documentary evidence of financial means. Okay. So you ain't coming in broke. Okay. Then they say they must prove they are capable of making a substantial contribution to the development of Ghana. They must prove, okay? They must prove that. So they need money. So you got to pay. And you got to make a substantial contribution to the development of Ghana. Okay, so you got to prove. Now, mind you, these are just the requirements to apply. These are the requirements. It's not like you pay and you get in. You got to kind of, show your goodwill, so to speak. You got to, show how generous you are for them to consider it. Oh, okay, all right. Damn. And then it says, now, mind you, they said all of these requirements must be met. All of them. Okay. Then it says this at the bottom. They must also satisfy the residency requirement. Okay. It says they must show that they have lived in Ghana for a total period of 7 years. Of the 7-year residency requirement, they must have lived in Ghana for 2 years immediately preceding the application. The remaining 5 years is computed in aggregate. What does that mean? What does that mean? You got to live in Ghana for 7 years. How you got what does that mean? It says you have to live in it for a total of 7 years. Okay, so it says immediately preceding the application, so you got to live there for 2 years, the remaining 5. Okay, I guess is so. If this is saying that, like, after the whole thing gets approved, you have to live there for 2 years specifically, and then the 5 years, I guess you can go back and forth. So this shows that this is not no dual citizen. This isn't no dual citizen. You can't just come and leave as you please. You know, you got to pay. You got to show you got money, and you got to pay. And you got to know 2 Ghanaian lawyers in order for you to even get accepted in the application. It's a lot of little red tape. It's a lot of red tape. So when people make it seem like, man, Ghana is just begging people to come live there, not really, no. No, they're really not. They are really not begging anybody to come over there. It's a whole lot of little trick bag, and then they show me how much you're willing to contribute real quick, and then we're gonna kind of see if we can speed your application up. Like, and even if none of that, if it was just come, we just want you just come and be a citizen. That's only one country. That's only Ghana. Ghana don't represent the continent. So let's be honest. Tell the truth about the situation.
On the continent, and I know you do. They love you. They see you as their brother. They don't see you as the European. They don't see you as a white American. They see you as them in a different situation. It's up to us to build the relationship back so that we can have.
No. Why is it up to us? We didn't mess it up. People keep saying stuff like, man, it's up to us. It's up to us to rebuild this relationship. It's up to us. They would make the way they make it seem like we're the ones who messed it up. We're not the ones who messed it up. Why is it solely up to us as Black Americans to fix this relationship? It's not up to us. We've done the work. When is anybody else going to put in?
Have a firm community. We got to hold on to Africa for the babies, for ourselves, and also so that we can strengthen.
I think I missed the super chat too. I'm going to get to y'all super chats in a second now.
Our global community, our international networks, so that Black folk or African folk here in the United States can have a relationship with African folk in the continent, on the continent of Africa, so that we can create something bigger and better than what we got right now.
Okay, and as beautiful as that idea is, that needs to be a mutual relationship. Both parties need to both want that to be the case. The thing is that to be honest with you, the only people for the past century who've been trying to make that be the case are FBA. We're the only ones who've like, man, well, let's do this so we can build in Africa, and then we can engage in trading and all that stuff. That's not been what the majority of Africa's been on. Now, of course, you've had individuals in Africa who've really tried to push that, and much respect to them. I'm not trying to discredit their work or their legacy or the efforts that they are putting in now. I'm not trying to do that. I'm speaking on the collective, not every individual. And as far as the collective goes, what he's saying, the ideology that he's spewing is not reflected among the collective of the continent.
I feel you. There's a way that we are just American. When I travel, that blue American passport get me out of a whole lot of stuff. They don't care if I'm Black. They don't care for what. That blue and that green, the cash, gets me out of shit. I feel you. There's a way that we are American, and Black folks should never deny our Americanness because we built this country. You're right about that. At the Olympics, we Black. But I'm going to give you a sports example. When France wins, them African players that win the World Cup or win an Olympic gold medal for France, them Africans, when they win, they French. When they lose, they African. What does that mean? They never really forget that you ain't them. And here in America, them is white. So we are American. And also, we don't want to forget the fact that we got Black American traditions. Hip hop is a Black American tradition. The thing
he just said hip hop came from Africa. He just said hip hop came from Africa, and now he's trying to spin back and say that hip hop is a Black American tradition. Now he's not wrong. He's not wrong this time, but he literally just contradicted himself.
Things we do, the clothes we wear, our styles are rooted in the fact that we are American and Black American, and we come out of a tradition of slavery. We are descendants of slavery. We need to be honest about that. I ain't denying any of that, but we got to be able to do both things at the same time. We got to be able to hold on to our Black Americanness and our African Americanness while simultaneously recognizing the fact that we are children of the motherland. So, my brother, I'm going to
look. No. And then he wraps that up there. No. The answer is no. Because the thing is that us identifying ethnically with our ancestry is not sitting up there dissing Africa. That's not dissing Africa, or even saying that we don't have a connection. For us to say, hey, we are a different people, that's not trying to erase any African ties that we've had. That's not trying to erase that. But the thing is that they're not really worried about that. What they're worried about is the fact that if we get to, we're Black American. We're over here. We're FBA. We're over here. You're African. You're over here. We got DNA ties, of course, but we're different. They want us to get on the page of we're the lost children of Africa. That's what they want us to do. We sending money over there. We're going over there and we're like, I finally feel at home, and oh my God, the children and the music and the sun, and they want us to be wowed by Africa, and they want us to pedestalize Africa and act like Africa is this big Wakanda. They want to Wakandicize Africa, and that's what we used to do, and now we don't do that anymore. We don't Wakandicize Africa because we don't view ourselves as the lost children of Africa who have no home. We don't view ourselves as that. And when we say, no, we're standing up for our own legacy. We're standing up for our own lineage. We're standing up for our ethnicity, our nationality. When we do that, we fade the feeling of us being the lost children of Africa. That starts to fade away, which means the pedestalization of the continent of Africa starts to fade away as well. That's why they all like, no, you're African, you're African, you're African, you're African, because they want us to pedestalize the continent. Okay? No, we're not throwing shade at the continent, but we're just not going to pedestalize it as if it's Wakanda. It's not Wakanda. Africa is not Wakanda. Wakanda is not real. Okay? Nobody's throwing shade by just acknowledging the true history of the fact that we are different people now. We're different people. Even if 100% of us, even if 100% of us who are on American, Black Americans, descendants of slaves, even if we all came from Africa, you know what I'm saying? That was hundreds of years ago. That was hundreds of years ago. I'm gonna say this: if we America, the origins of America, 16. It technically the America 1776. From 1776 to 2024, okay, has been the length of the United States of America. The start of the country up to the current date. Okay? That length of time is longer than the origins of the countries that are in Africa today. I'm going to show you Just I'm somebody in the chat room. I need participation in the chat room. Somebody in the chat room, give me a random country in Africa. A random country in Africa. And this is how you know it's not playing. Give me a random country in Africa. Anybody in the chat room. I need some participation. Just a random country in the chat room of Africa. It don't matter. It's just so you can know I didn't stage this or anything like this. I'm saying any random country. Somebody Zimbabwe. Okay. So we're going to go. We're going to do Zimbabwe. Let's do Zimbabwe. And we're going to go. Okay. The origin. Let me see. I'm going to go up the origin. Or how old. I'm typing wrong. How old? Yeah, we can. How old is Zimbabwe? Okay, so we just looked up Zimbabwe. I can look up another one. I'm gonna look up a few so we can prove that this. I'm not just making this up, right? So going to Zimbabwe. Okay, so how old is Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe. Okay, so we see 1970. Okay. The independence, this happened in 1980. Okay, hold on. What? 1977. How old is Zimbabwe? 1980s. Zimbabwe is 1980s. 1980s. Y'all, my parents were born before the 1980s. That's how old this country is. A lot of these countries and these customs are new. These are newer places. These are newer places, okay? What was the next country that was listen, I'm doing this live. I'm doing this live. How old is my spelling bee. Lord, I cannot spell. Okay, how old is Ghana? Okay, well, not the actual landmass. How old is the country of Ghana? The country of Ghana, 1957. 1957. Okay, hold on. Let's be these countries weren't even really established countries until the 90s. I mean, not the 90s, until the end of the 20th century. Okay, somebody said Ghana. Let's say Mali. Okay, what we know now, how old is the country? We got to go that far. This happened June 1960. 1960. Come on, I can bring up a whole bunch of stuff. Let's look up Nigeria. And like I said, this isn't to throw shade, but when we have these conversations, we're going to have to be honest. Nigeria, 1940. And I'm just bringing up random countries, right? These random countries with countries that have been established now. Now, what I'm saying is that these landmass exist centuries prior to this. Of course, we know that. But I'm saying the countries that we know of today, what we call Ghana today, what we call Zimbabwe today, what we call Ethiopia today, Nigeria today, the country of United States of America predates them, is older than them. The country. Now, of course, this country, I don't think, was ever colonized. So this country might be the exception because it was never physically colonized, Ethiopia. But there's a lot of other countries. I mean, we could literally spend all day doing this, really. We could really spend all day doing this. But we don't have to do that. We don't. That's the thing. Our people have been here for centuries. Our people have had a nation that the nation has been the same for centuries. A lot of those nations in the continent have changed. The names of it has changed. The names of the people have changed. The customs have changed, the religions, the practices, a lot of that stuff has changed. You know what I'm saying? What we know of Nigeria now was not called Nigeria in the 1700s when America was still called America. What we know of Cameroon now was not called Cameroon, was not the Cameroon that's reflected in Africa today in the 1700s when America was still America. You understand what I'm saying? And I just Googled it live just to show you. All right. Now, why do you think that why is Mark so passionate about that? Why is he saying that, no, we got to identify with Africa and all that stuff? Like, what's the deal with that? I'm going to show you what the deal is. This is the deal. Yep. Did my receipts, did my digging. And this is Mark. Okay. All the way in 2019, he thought he could hide it, but he couldn't. He was arguing with some folks. He says, don't know what the original question was because the original question has, was blocked and all that stuff. So don't know what the original question was. But it goes on to say, it says, I am not. As a son of Jamaican Costa Ricans, mind you, he's saying a son of Jamaican Costa Ricans, okay? Those are both his parents. Okay. One of his parents is Jamaican. One of his parents is Costa Rican. Okay. He's not saying one parent is one way or one parent is another way. It's not like one parent is Jamaican and another parent is FBA. Both his parents are non-FBA. Both his parents are Caribbean. He says, as a son of Jamaican Costa Ricans living in America, I'm currently black. I'm certainly black. He is black, but I respect that this doesn't make me ADOS. It does not, which means FBA. He's not FBA. He admits that. So I bow out. Please untag me. He admits he's not FBA. So the whole, we built this country. I don't know, maybe, I don't think Jamaicans speak French. Maybe Costa Ricans do. I don't think Jamaica, I don't know. But the whole we, he's using we. I keep saying Costa Ricans. It's my tongue twisted. Anyway, yeah. Now all that we stuff, man, we built this country, and I understand why we want to be a Black American. No, you don't understand that because you're not Black American. You're not us. You're not FBA. Now, if he might have been born in America, so his nationality is American. But he does not come from the same lineage we come from. And now that we're starting to have a sense of pride in our lineage, he can't really connect with that pride. That pride, he can't connect with that pride. So that's why he's like, no, Africa. No. Because y'all used to make the Black Americans feel like we were the lost children and everybody else had something but us. We were just the one. No, but now we don't. Now that we have acknowledged our pride and we standing 10 toes down in our lineage, in our history, without being disrespectful, mind you, because you can do it without being disrespectful, which is what we're doing. We're not dissing them. We're not saying, oh, we're better than you, y'all dirty, y'all nasty. We're not doing that. We just say, no, we are us over here. We locked in over here. That bothers them because the pedestalization of all of these other places are going to fade away because we've been the one pedestalizing them, because we have been taught that we are the lost children of some land. that we can't really connect with because we've been gone for so long, but we're really not American. So we're just in this awkward place in the middle. So we're essentially just lost. We're abandoned to a degree. But we need to connect with home, which is Africa, and we need to view home as this some type of paradise on earth. And it's gotten a lot of black people for many years. Now we're all like, no, I mean, respect, but home is here. Home is here. Home isn't anywhere else. Home is here. We respect that. We respect your home. And this is our home. But we're not going to act like your home is better than our home. And the thing is that they know that their home ain't better. They know that because they wouldn't be coming over here if it was not the truth. If it wasn't the truth, they wouldn't be coming over here like that. Let me get I said I was going to get to the super chats. Let me get to the super chats. Shout out to Dakotas Jenkins. Shout out to you, brother. Sends a $5 super chat. It says most slaves sent west were bought. Hold this laptop closer. Most slaves sent west were bought to South America, not North America. That's true. Outside of Africa, most black people in the South American most black people in South America. Yeah. Ethnogenesis. Yeah, it's ethnogenesis. Exactly. You're correct. Only like 5%. And that, to be totally honest, the 5%, that's kind of on the high end, to be honest. Because some reports say it's closer to like about 3. But even if we want to scale it up to 5, only 5% of all of the captured Africans from the Middle Passage during the transatlantic slave trade went to the North Americas. Okay. And that's documented fact. Shout out to Kev for the, I don't know where this is from, like what type of currency that is, but shout out to you for that. Blueberry Muffin, certified FBA all damn day. Absolutely. Thank you very much. $10 super chat. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, we are taking a sense of pride in our ethnicity. And that's not going to change. We're different people now. You are the ones who are sitting up there acting like that makes us disconnected. If anything, if y'all want to show strength and y'all want to show connection and y'all want to show unity, y'all need to be the ones being all like, hey man, we respect what you guys got going on over here. You know, come over here and we can have dual citizenship. Not that right to abode nonsense. When I showed you the requirements for it, and you guys are looking at it like, damn, that's a trick. Who's gonna sign up for that? How do you even get into that? And that's only one country. If the continent wanted to show that, the continent needs to make a better effort. But as far as us trying to strengthen a connection and rebuild bonds and rebuild bridges, no. If there's only one bridge and both of the parties can go back and forth and everything like that, it's up to both of the parties to maintain the bridge. But the thing is that we have had this one-way bridge and we've maintained it the whole time. No, it's time for you guys. Y'all build a bridge, a legitimate bridge, not the right to abode. Build a legitimate bridge. We would still be different. We still gonna be FBA regardless. It's not like something we can change. But build, if y'all want a connection, then y'all need to make an effort. And shout out to, you know, Julius Malema and all of those people who have done that. No disrespect to them, but I'm talking about collectively. The continent collectively needs to make an effort. Not just Ghana, not just the right to abode, and not just one or two people. All right. And until we have that honest conversation, we're not going to make any progress. But family, I've been on here for a good minute, y'all. Yeah, for a good minute, for a Friday too. And we've been in here, we almost had 300 people in here for a Friday afternoon. That's impressive. It's impressive. But we will stick to our regularly scheduled thing. You know what I'm saying? It was just certain things come up, and couldn't do my live. But I made sure I got it done the very next day. So next week, we starting off fresh, schedule still the same, everything gonna be the same. Make sure you guys follow me right here, my various social media platforms. That's Afro Elite on Instagram, and then the Afro Elite on Twitter. All right. Links to both of those are in the description. Please make sure that you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. That way you do not miss out on anything. All right. Make sure you guys do that. We're still getting a lot of new subscribers. So shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys so very much. Now, with that being said, my brothers and my sisters, be one salute to every single last one of you all, and you all have a good one.